Good morning. Uh, I invited Seymour to join us on my 16th virtual authors event. I brought some coffee too, I'm a little more casual today, as you can tell, and that's kind of cool. But anyway, Seymour, our friend, he's been named after a very famous moose. Not that Bullwinkle's first or last name that no one knew was Seymour, but rather the U.S. military used a moose in some ads in the 80s and 90s, and he was in those ads. We went to Alaska in 1999, which seems maybe to you a long time ago, but really isn't. And we met Seymour because my son was 4, and he came along, and the tour guide went out of her way to make sure we saw Seymour, who was the moose in a TV series at the entry called Northern Exposures. I'm not certain if you remember that, but it was about a small, interesting little town in Alaska. But anyway, he's here today. I've spoken before about all the tasks that it takes to write a book. I've spoken before about the inspirations that drive me to write my books. I've spoken before over the life experiences that I have tapped into when I write. But I thought today we would talk about the reason I write in the first place. And that can be a complicated thing. I apologize for the glare on my glasses, but the light here is not perfect. This is totally unscripted, off the cuff. But anyway. I don't expect that my writing will ever become a financial bonus, a supplement, or anything of the nature. And so, in essence, it cost me to write and publish books, and I don't see any financial return. So it's not the money. Seymour, it's not the money. That's not why I'm writing. I'm writing because I believe in the story. I didn't know until I started this road on publishing that I had been a storyteller my whole life in one way or another. And that, so I started writing just to write, just to put my stories down. And so that's kind of the beginnings of it. The tools I use, I've talked about those, but mostly my desktop computer is where I go trotting off into my office to try to throw a few lines together or edit a few lines. But the amount of work, and I've spoken on this before, could be daunting. And so why would I do this? I mean, why would I go to the trouble? And the reason is because I believe in the stories that I create. And I believe they have a meaning, have a purpose. And so I've been given this gift for a man of faith as I am, a God-given gift. And I feel, one, I should use it. And two, when I use it, I believe in what I've put together. And that is probably the single largest driver of the day in, day out grind of turning words into something that someone else wants to read. And that is the big thing of a story, is that it's not enough to have a story. It has to be, in my opinion, for mine in any way, in any case, has to be a story someone wants to read. I was very blessed. A few weeks ago, I stopped by the hardware store, and it happened to be Poppy Day, a Veterans Awareness Day for the fallen veterans primarily. And I met a lady who was taking collections for Veterans Needs, the living veterans, that is. And I ask her, like I ask so many people when I wander about, whether it's at the stores or restaurants or meeting people, I asked them a simple question as I was getting ready to walk away. Do you read books? I used to just say, do you read? I figured that was enough, but it was easily taken that, well, of course I can. I mean, how do you expect me to get by in life if I can't read? But when my beloved Jackie says, you need to change the question just a little bit and say, do you read books? It'd be more clear. I said, yeah, so that's what I do. And she goes, yes, I do. And I said, well, I didn't have my regular promo cards with me, but I did have a business card that has a picture of my books on the front of it. And I pulled it out and I began to get, she said, well, I know those books. I know those books. I've read those books. Now, for an author, even in a small place like Walkerton, Indiana, and the surrounding country, because I'm even more rural than that, for an author to meet someone on the street, mind you, who says, I've read your books, I liked your books, when's the next one coming? Which is always a question that tail ends this, isn't it, Seymour? When's the next one coming? And I'd like to have an answer, but I don't. Not yet. And I know better than to make a timeline which will be difficult to achieve except under perfect situations, because life is not perfect. My life is a long ways from perfect. And things always pop up in between. But when you meet someone like that, or when I get a response to my newsletter, and if you're interested in getting a newsletter, just give me a personal message and we can set that up. When I get a response to my newsletter or meet someone on the street, as I said before, and they tell me that, well, yeah, we liked your book. We loved the story. We wonder how Elizabeth's doing. Imagine that, an imaginary character that's out of my mind, that people are wondering how she's doing. Can you believe it? Sometimes I can believe it because she's my friend among the other friends that I have that are only exist as words on a page. But she's my friend. Matthew's my friend. And we want the best for our friends, don't we? And so when things happen and whatever, and that's part of the reason too, isn't it? Because we want to know what happens to our friends. And these are friends of mine. And I'm hoping if you have read the books, they have become friends of yours as well. So you believe in the story and you absolutely get lifted off your shoes when someone says they liked it too. Those are two of the big reasons why I go to the trouble. I hope that makes some sense to you. Not everything in life needs to be balanced out on dollar signs. I think the greatest artists in the world in history wrote without concern about what it would actually return to them. You've heard the term starving artist, and it's an accurate term. Because the history will show you that many are greatest painters whose paintings bring many, many dollars, millions of dollars, lived in poverty. And yet they couldn't help but paint. And so maybe it is for this writer. I can't help but write. We've hit 10 minutes. And I really do need to get to the keyboard once I've had some dinner at lunchtime, or some lunch today. And I thank you for taking the time to watch these little short videos. I don't know how many more I'm going to be running. I hope soon to be setting up visits in libraries and bookstores in this area, in any case, and maybe a little larger circle. And if that comes to be, I will try to include news in that in either another newsletter or in another video. And so, my friends, God bless you, and have a great week. And I'll keep writing because that's what I do when I have a chance. It may not be in the summer as often as I'd like, but when I'm at it, I'm at it. Good day.